Hey everyone, I'm Megyn Kelly. Welcome to the Megyn Kelly Show and happy Tuesday. We have a great show for you today. There is more on the DSA takeover of the Democratic Party, Democrat Socialists of America, that is, as a progressive battles it out with the establishment candidate in the Michigan primary today, plus a major plagiarism scandal from the youngest black professor in the history of the University of Cambridge has grown since we first brought it to you last week. Joining me now is Matt Taibbi. He's the editor of Racket News, which you can find on Substack. Don't miss a moment. Subscribe to this show on YouTube and follow me on Insta, Facebook, and X. You don't wait until your house is on fire to install a smoke detector, and you don't wait until the wind and rain hammer your windows and the power goes out to prepare for a hurricane. You don't reach for your seatbelt after the impact because after the crash, the hurricane, or the house fire, it's too late. And in the same vein, you do not wait until the dollar goes to zero before you buy gold. It's too late then. So consider diversifying with precious metals right now, because you never know what will threaten your savings next. Let me tell you, every wealthy person I know is doing this. We got persistent inflation. I don't have to tell you that. A weakening dollar, unexpected financial disruptions. You don't know what's coming, but you can take a preventative step to hedge your bets. One option, requesting a free info kit on gold from Birch Gold Group. Just text my initials MK to the number 989898. This is a group with an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau. There is no cost to you. There is no obligation. They are not big on pressuring you to do it. They just want to give you straightforward info on how you can diversify if you want to. Even with an IRA or a 401k, you can diversify just part of it if that's your preference with gold. Birch Gold is a great option to consider. All right, check it out for yourself by texting MK to 989898. Matt, welcome back. Great to see you. Before we get to all of that, we've got to start in the state of Maine because they continue to have serious trouble over on the Democrat side in finding their nominee to take on Susan Collins. This was a seat that they felt really good about 2 months ago, not so much anymore. So Graham Plattner was forced out of the race when multiple women came forward against him, and ultimately a woman with whom he had a relationship came forward to accuse him of rape. He dropped out. Now they've settled on Troy Jackson to replace him. And Troy Jackson, as it turns out, Matt, is married to his second cousin. That's extremely weird. Okay, that's like you and your first cousin have children. They're not married, but they're lifelong partners and they have children together. You and your first cousin have children, and those children life partners, become life partners and have children of their own. So you picture your first cousin out there. You have a child, he has a child, your children get together and have a family, including biological children of their own. I'm sorry, it's too much. Those are second cousins having relations and children together, and now he's commenting on it. This report hit a couple of days ago. Now he's speaking out. His campaign called the reporting by the Maine Wire, it's a local outlet, politically motivated, blaming Susan Collins. Quote, Susan Collins will do anything to distract from the fact that she votes with Trump 96% of the time and has sold out the working people of Maine. Personal attacks on Troy's family are shameful and desperate, but they don't add untrue. Matt Taibbi, they seem to be admitting he is having sex with his second cousin and reproducing with her, which I'm sorry is just creepy. Your thoughts?
Yeah, this is something that, oddly enough, even it's legal to marry even first cousins in a lot of countries in the world. I actually know know a couple of second cousins who are married, but it's an odd thing. And the thing that's really interesting about this is the reflexive answer. This has become the go-to answer to everything. Almost everything is either but Trump or why are you talking about that now? And it's sort of the standard way to non-debate an issue or non-answer a question in this day and age. So But Maine is a fiasco. I think it's sort of the poster child for all the problems that the Democratic Party is facing right now.
Here's what's interesting too. So his response is to say Trump, 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 Trump. And also, in the same, I mean, that's what he's saying by saying Susan Collins. This is all Susan Collins and her affinity for Trump, which is laughable. Most Republicans would say they wish Susan Collins would have a greater affinity for Trump.
Right.
But in any event, the guy at the Maine Wire, the editor in chief, his name is Steve Robinson, actually came out and spoke to that allegation. Listen here in SOT 9.
I wanted to check in and give a little update on the consanguinity story with Troy Jackson. For those who don't know, consanguinity is the fancy word for banging your cousin. Now, I'm just a humble blogger from Dexter. I don't know fancy communication stuff like all the DC consultants that Troy Jackson has on his payroll. So maybe I don't understand the wisdom of the statement that they put out. But they effectively confirmed all of the reporting that the Maine Wire has done. They put out a statement saying that this was Susan Collins' work. But don't go around giving other people credit for my work. This was original investigative work that came to us from a tip, and we investigated it. Pulled together a little family tree, family wreath on Ancestry.com, confirmed the work, and we're confident in it enough to report it out. This had nothing whatsoever to do with Senator Collins.
I'm into this guy. He's got a sense of humor, Matt.
Yeah, no, that's very funny. And, I can see why you would be upset if, if they're essentially saying this is a plant from Trump and Susan Collins, and he actually dug that up himself. That's something I've dealt with in the past before, is being accused of being the conveyor of opposition research when that's not the case at all. And they don't even bother to confirm that that's the case anymore when they do that. So it's very.
That's right. They just want to slander him.
Consanguinity. That's a great word. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I know. Haven't heard that one in a while. But in Troy Jackson's defense, where do you go with that? Yes, I am banging my second cousin. That's really the response. It's true. I'm banging a blood relative. Ew. I'm sorry. It's gross. The Republicans of Maine have now responded with the following. To everyone planning to call our office about this Troy Jackson news, we just had to say, no, we do not know what's wrong with Maine Democrats, but it is only affecting them, ! The rest of us Mainers are still quite normal. I don't think this is the kind of PR you want as you gear up toward election day, Matt. I'm thinking they could have better stories about Troy Jackson out there than that one.
Well, there's nothing they can do but admit it. I mean, as a PR consultant, what else would you advise them to do? I think that's probably the only move, other than
go with your line of it's legal.
Right.
It's totally legal.
Right.
Cool. Okay. Doesn't mean I have to vote for you. I'm sorry, but it's bizarre. They just don't know what they're doing up there in Maine. They go from one bad candidate to the next, to the next, to the next. And okay, we'll see how that works out for them. They're not the only ones with, some serious issues. Over in Wisconsin, they have this woman running for governor who's in the lead, named Francesca Hong. And she is in the news for, among other things, she wants to defund the police, among other radical positions. But she also apparently really hates Thanksgiving. She really wanted Thanksgiving to be canceled. And to her credit, Caitlin Collins of CNN asked her about it. And she, now realizing that most of us love Thanksgiving and don't want to see it canceled and don't think much of loons who speak otherwise, is kind of hedging a little. And here's how she's doing that, SOT 2.
Do you still believe that Thanksgiving should be canceled?
I'm a chef. And one of the first meals that I made that was for the community when I was 16 was a Thanksgiving meal. I always think my hospitality background in owning a restaurant for 7-8 years, that bringing folks around the table to share conversation and build community is always a good thing. But Thanksgiving is also a time that's incredibly painful for many people in our communities. And so I think there I wanted to make sure that people understood that there are multiple views, but views can evolve. And the position that I'm running for right now, and I think my background as a chef, will actually help me become a better governor that's able to bring more people to the table.
She is, according to the latest Marquette poll, 22 points above her competitors. Like, she is looking like she is going to pull out the nomination here. She's a dues paying member of the Democrat Socialists of America, this group that is growing by the minute within our country and within the Democrat Party, which has even many Democrats deeply disturbed. The Post Millennial also had an article out on Saturday saying that Francesca Hong admitted to being diagnosed as mentally ill, that she was cutting herself. She was diagnosed with bipolar disease. She was taking SSRIs. She had overdosed on lithium. This is years ago, and at age 18, she had a mental breakdown and was hospitalized for a week at a psychiatric hospital. So this is the woman who is in the lead right now for this Wisconsin's governor race. I'm concerned, Matt. I'm concerned with candidate quality, which traditionally was more of a Republican issue, where they kept going for people who were too extreme. And it's very interesting to see the foot now, or the shoe now on the other foot.
It's really incredible, this phenomenon. I mean, once upon a time, being a self-flagellating, depressive slash, formerly mentally ill person who hated the country and hated its traditions would be automatically disqualifying in a general election, and it may still be in the general, but in the primary, being somebody who is a victim of mental illness and thinks of herself as a victim, and also hates the country apparently, and hates the things that most of us love about it, is the thing that's going to propel you to the lead in the primary, which is the phenomenon we're seeing all over the country with the DSA. And it's really an incredible thing. It speaks to what's happened educationally in this country over the last 20 or 30 years.
It's truly like jarring, because it's really unfortunate for everyone, because just at the moment when some faction of Republicans are feeling very disaffected because they're unhappy with the economy, they don't think Trump has lived up to his promises on bringing down prices and costs and so on. Many are unhappy with the Iran war. Truly, you look over there at Team Blue and you're like, holy shit. Never mind. I'm not doing that. This woman, Hong, again, she's probably going to win the Democrat primary for governor in Wisconsin today. Then she'll have to face off against a Republican for the actual job. But this is who the Democrats are likely to put up for the post. All these things I mentioned. She hates Thanksgiving. She is apparently bipolar, had a lithium OD, and is a cutter, or was. That's in addition to her DSA membership, which includes she backs the legalization of marijuana, a state-run development bank, Medicare for all, a 32-hour work week with no pay cuts, abolishing ICE, restoring voting rights for felons, and the eventual elimination, or at least reduction, of prisons and police. So we need to eliminate the prisons and the cops. What could possibly go wrong?
Well, and the DSA's platform now additionally has abolishing the Senate and replacing both the presidency and the Supreme Court with a body that would be subordinate to the House. So essentially it would be a one-party, a unicameral government that would have no set of checks and balances at all. This is the official platform of the DSA. I mean, of all the other crazy things that are in, their platform, from prison abolition to no borders to all kinds of other stuff that makes even hardcore liberals nervous, they want to fundamentally reform the entire political system and make it so that it's effectively mob rule and that there's no protection of minority views or minority political rights. is terrifying. And this point of view is winning all over the country. And as you say, at a moment when, there are a lot of people who are disaffected with Donald Trump, this is serious cause for concern.
Yeah, that's at least the presidency, police, and prison. The 3 Ps she wants to get rid of, the DSA wants to get rid of, and the Pentagon. That's a 4th. The presidency, the Pentagon, police, and prisons. I'm sure America would be a lot safer and better if we went along with these nutcases. And they really are gaining purchase. I really think it's because of 2 things. One, the Democrat Party is very, very anti-Israel now, and all the DSAers very much stand for that. That was the group that was in Times Square celebrating the day after 10/7, 10/8, while the bodies were still bleeding. They were jubilant in Times Square. We ran the tape. That's this group. So that's number one. And the second is prices. They're like all communists and socialists, and you used to live in Russia.
Yeah.
It comes with these wonderful promises of how they're going to take from the evil rich and give to the downtrodden poor, and everyone's life will be ready or better without reckoning with what actually happens, which is we live in a federalist society where you can move from state to state. You don't have to stay in a state like California or New York City, for example, where they oppress you with taxes just because you've become successful. You leave. And that's exactly what's happening in places like Manhattan.
Yeah, it's incredible. And the ignorance about economics is unbelievable. The ignorance even about the history of socialism is unbelievable. And as you mentioned, I went to school in the Soviet Union. I had to take scientific communism, believe it or not. I mean, I was just studying language, but I had to take that class. And coming back to the United States and seeing the difference between how students were taught about the Soviet era when I was in high school and what happens now, they don't teach them anything about the bad things that happened in the Soviet era, about how that kind of economics doesn't work, about how even the Soviet Union had to abandon, so-called war communism, where they fix prices and go back to the market as early as 1921. None of this stuff is known here in the United States. They don't know about the massacres, the political prisoners. And so all of this is just novel. It just sounds like a bunch of politicians promising them free stuff and, a pathway to a fairer economy, not understanding the underlying politics are tremendously dangerous.
Matt, I got to send you a copy of Doug's book. It's called The Lost Empire of Emmanuel Nobel, and it's all about Russian history and Emmanuel Nobel. This guy is part of the Nobel family, who was really the richest Nobel, the most successful Nobel, who built the oil industry in Russia. And the reason he's not a household name like his brother Alfred, who started the prizes, is because of another man who was growing up at the same time named Joseph Stalin. Anyway, it's a great book. It's not a novel. It's nonfiction, but it's great. It reads like a novel and it's doing very well. So thank you all for buying it. But I'm going to send you a copy because that's right up your alley.
I would love to. My son was actually telling me about it, so I would love to check it out.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you'll laugh. This past weekend, we were in Saratoga. We went to the races. It was super fun. And we were in a bookstore and they had a bunch of them. And Doug offered to sign them. It's always nice if the author will sign it, and then the bookstore can sell it saying signed by the author. And I go over there just as he's starting, and I said, "Would you stop doing that? I'm so sorry." He has this habit of going into bookstores and claiming he's the author. He's not. He just likes to sign books. The woman's face. She believed me. I got such a kick out of my own joke. Anyway, and she looked at the photo and realized I was joking, but I'm still amused by my own joke, as you can see. Okay, let's
pocket that one. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Let's keep going in Wisconsin. I have a couple more on this Francesca Hong. So she's against the Pentagon. She's against the presidency. She's against the police. She's against prisons, and she is against proximity to white men or white women, for that matter. Just whiteness is what she objects, and she knows of what she speaks, and here's how. Listen to SOT 4.
I wasn't always aware of the struggles of other communities of color, because for me, assimilation always kind of took over. And so I did marry a my proximity to whiteness continues, right? I'm my son is biracial. He's half white and half Korean, and I think navigating, what his identity is and how people perceive him is always at the back of my mind as well.
Oh my God.
It
Can you imagine using your child's skin color to make your point about the evils of whiteness?
it's unbelievable. And this person who is clearly got problems and has no ideas other than to roll out a bunch of academic gobbledygook phrases that she was fed at one time or another, as if they're real or meaningful. But to use your own child like that, and even to publicly denounce your child's heritage is, I think that's, as a parent, that does not sit well with me. I'm half Asian, and I've never had a problem in this country. It doesn't particularly bother me. And most of the people I know who are don't seem to have any issue with it, unless your parent makes it an issue on television, which is what she's doing.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And by the way, Matt, he's only 10. Can you imagine? She's out there talking about her experience next to this half white boy has really given her the proximity to whiteness experience. What's the point? Because if you're only half white and you're walking around half Asian, half white, like, do you get the full white experience? I don't know. Like, she seems to want to say she's getting it through him. But I'm not sure. Like, tell us more about your son. Just how Asian does he look? This is the kind of conversation she's inviting about her sweetheart, her child.
No, it's you should never be as a celebrity. It's always an awful thing when you bring your kids into some kind of public controversy. There was a moment I remember in the 80s and 90s when people were writing parenting books and they were making celebrities out of their kids who didn't want to be. But this is even worse. This is demonizing part of their background. And taking a 10-year-old kid who has no choice in the matter and thrusting, I guess, him right into the middle of this picture. It's, I think that's horrible. I can't believe that people are endorsing it.
No, it's very disturbing. All right, as we continue down the lane of candidates in bizarre trouble, let's take a look at the Ohio race for representative, House of Representatives. Now, at the Senate level, U.S. Senate in Ohio, we have Bernie Moreno. He's a Republican. He's been great. But he has a Republican ex-son-in-law. This man was married to Bernie's daughter, Emily, but is no longer. And his name is Max Miller. I realize most people don't know who Max Miller is, because if he's not your congressman, you probably don't know. Even though all the aides to every House of Representatives member on Capitol Hill think that we all know who their member is. We don't. No one has any idea who most of the members of House of Representatives are, unless they've managed to make an individual sort of case for themselves, like an AOC. Anywho, this guy, Max Miller, is in the midst of this ugly, I guess, either divorce proceeding or the aftermath of the divorce proceeding. It seems like they are divorced and they have custody battles ongoing, perhaps with the daughter. But now Bernie Moreno comes out with this post on X over the weekend saying Max Miller is not fit for office. He belongs nowhere near the House of Representatives. When I think of how he treated my daughter, it makes my skin crawl. I have to hold my breath every time he's with my 2-year-old granddaughter. I do not trust him. I'm like the most scurrilous allegations you can hurl at a man. Max Miller denies that he's engaged in any abusive conduct whatsoever. And he said, I'm now going to release all these tapes that are going to show you how these are lies. Now, I have no idea whether these are lies or not. I mean, the divorce proceedings can get very, very ugly. They can get really ugly when you have custody of a child at issue too. So I have no idea who's telling the truth, but it is interesting it's spilling over into the public eye, and it's all Republican on Republican blood, right? The U.S. Senator versus the House of Representative guy. And here's Max Miller. He released this audio. This is a June 2024 incident with his then wife, Emily, where they are discussing, because one of her allegations is that he threw scalding water on her, which absolutely would be abusive. But here they're on tape discussing it, sort of maneuvering for what exactly happened in the incident. Listen, Satan.
It never was done to hurt you, and you know that. You were weaponizing this because of my previous allegation.
And if you knew it was because you went into my room when I was crying.
So
and
Emily,
you started crying saying, I didn't mean to hurt you. I didn't mean to hurt you. Why are you scared of me? Why are you scared of me?
I didn't mean to hurt you. It wasn't done with intent. You just said it yourself. You literally just said it yourself. It wasn't done to hurt you. And I told you before that not to come over to me and start screwing around with me.
I wasn't trying to screw around with you.
Emily,
I was trying to give you a hug.
You're taking a playful incident and making something nefarious.
It's not playful. You have hot water.
Emily, going out of the faucet, it does not get to a temperature of boiling water. It does not.
Put it on muted home, Max, and see if you can get it.
I did it, and I tested it, and I had our attorneys test it because I figured that this is what you were going to come at me with.
It's literally at you.
But literally, it's like standing under a hot shower, and we already have someone to go ahead and combat this if this is what you're going to do.
I don't think it didn't reach the point of boiling. It's not a great defense. It's not a great defense, Matt Taibbi. But what do you think of this whole mess?
I mean, nobody comes out looking good in this story. I think the thing that's bothersome in the current environment is that it's become almost automatic that you can just vaporize any politician's career just by bringing up these accusations. What's unusual about this one is that there's some evidence involved and maybe, like a witness who might be credible, but I don't like this whole phenomenon of, we've just seen Plattner, Eric Swalwell, and a whole raft of other members of Congress just wiped up by their own party. This can't be the way that parties exact discipline upon their own members. I don't know. I don't know how you feel about it, but it worries me because it could be.
Divorce proceedings are messy. Like right. I feel uncomfortable getting involved in anybody's divorce because people say things. They say things that are untrue. They have the most negative spin on actions that may not have been great. Like when I was a kid, I was like 13 and my brother was 18, or maybe I was 12 and he was 17, where there's 5-year age difference. He one time had me in a headlock and used that sprayer of the sink on me. Now it wasn't scalding water. It was regular water. Like it was cold water. But in his defense, he did it because I had tied the rubber band around the sprayer and it went off when he turned on the sink. Now that was not abuse. Right. It was kind of sibling, fun and rivalry, and we still laugh about it. But so I don't know in what context he grabbed the little sprayer and sprayed her, because he's saying it was horseplay, and you heard her there being like, suggesting it was scalding, and him. So I don't it's a dangerous practice to start to dissect the spats, even the big ones in somebody's marriage, where there's not a police report or an actual finding of some sort of misdemeanor or felonious behavior.
Yeah, I don't want to know this. I don't want to be litigating this in the media. I especially don't want to be deciding somebody's political career based on incomplete information that they leak out. This doesn't feel.
Weirdly, he did leak this. He's the one who put out that audio. And by the way, there's one more. There's a bunch. He put out this audio to like exonerate himself. Pro tip, just it doesn't you were better off, Max, without any of that. But here's another one in which they're disputing his use of needles. And there's a bit of an admission in this one, too, which set the internet ablaze.
And I've never gone into your cell phone. And I've never gone into your computer. And I've never sneaked into your backpack. And I've never banged on the bathroom door thinking that you're masturbating when you were just using the bathroom at 5:30 a.m.
I have gone into your backpack because I truly do believe you have a drug problem.
Okay. What drugs?
Well, first it was weed, and then I found needles next to your bed.
You found needles?
Yes, I did, and I took a picture of it. So you can try to deny it to me.
Okay.
I don't know why that's funny. That's actually really fucking scary.
Okay, you found
And it was a huge impetus of why I left.
I will say this too. One of the reasons why it's in the news is the Republicans have until tomorrow if they want to replace him as their candidate. Wednesday is Ohio's deadline to trigger a special election to replace Miller on the ballot. Republicans, reading here from Axios, could still fill a vacancy through a party committee, but would have to certify a replacement by August 10th. If he withdraws after August 10th, Republicans cannot replace him. The AP reporting Democrats see Miller could be vulnerable in a district he won 2 years ago with just over 51% of the vote. So it wasn't exactly a runaway. His Democrat opponent is union ironworker Brian Poindexter, who the Democrats selected as like a manly man who might be able to win crossover voters because they're realizing now that they've gone to effete in their selection of especially male candidates. So there are stakes involved. And the Republican Party has a decision to make here about how badly this is going to blow up in their faces if they stick with this guy. And there's a lot more, either in Emily's, coffers or somebody else's. So do you stick with the one who's got the name recognition, who they did vote for already, or do you replace him and put yourself in a situation like the Dems are in Maine, where you might pick somebody who married or at least had sex with and had children with their second cousin?
I don't know. I mean, if you got to pick the guy who thinks it looks good to release a tape of him denying that he had or not even denying that he had needles next to his bed. I don't know. I mean, I guess the general quality or pool of possible candidates must be so low out there that they just can't find somebody who isn't crazy to run for higher office. That's the only conclusion I can draw from that. But certainly listening to that,
I think it is
about my own marriage and count my blessings, I guess. But
Totally. And also, I reinforces my own conclusion, which is the solution to all of our problems is not in Washington. It's in private industry, it's in ourselves, it's in our schools, which does require us to vote in local elections especially. But those nimrods in DC are not going to get us out of any of the jams we're in. Sadly, it's up to us. Sorry to break it to us, but it is. Do not rely on any of these people as the answer. Okay, let's keep going because there's a lot of other news. Now, you've been following the saga of this Cambridge professor. And every day we get about 20 new pieces of his alleged bio that are either under attack or actually are falling apart. And today it's not a great update for him. I don't think you can dispute that he's like by the day suffering credibility problems. Here's the latest. The UK Telegraph is reporting that this charity, WaterAid, is now throwing water on his account of volunteering for them. His bio on the website of his speakers agency, the Simon & Schuster Speakers Bureau, because he's coming out with a book, stated until recently that this professor at Cambridge, again, they tout him as the youngest black professor ever at Cambridge. And all these allegations, plagiarism and others that we're going to go through, he has dismissed as racism. This is about, and ableism. He also added that lately too, because he claims that he was autistic and nonverbal for the first 11 years of his life. And he had to do sign language and then miraculously went on to become a PhD and defended his PhD after having just gotten brain cancer and also I think some lung issue. Okay, anyway, just want you to know he says it's all racist. So here's what Simon & Schuster's Speakers Bureau, his bio said until recently, that this Professor Arde, Jason Arde, has also undertaken and completed relief work in South America and West Africa with WaterAid. That's the name of the charity, installing water points which provide drinkable and clean water. This is the UK Telegraph reporting. WaterAid, however, says it never sends volunteers abroad. Again, he said he's undertaken and completed relief work in South America and West Africa with WaterAid. They say we never send volunteers abroad. The name of WaterAid has now been removed from his bio on the website. Then there's Glasgow University, where on the Cambridge Faculty of Education page, Professor Jason Arday claims that he is a visiting professor at Glasgow's School of Education. However, this was denied by the university spokesman at the University of Glasgow. Quote, I can confirm that Professor Arday is not a visiting professor here and was never. Now, back in 2021, I believe he was a sociology of education professor there. But their point is he left, he moved to Cambridge in 2023 and has no ongoing affiliation with the university and was never a visiting professor, which is yet another thing that's on his bio, but it's not true. One more for you from today. Cambridge, per independent journalist Benjamin Ryan, who's been doing a good job on this, Cambridge quietly edited his college bio sometime between January 1st and August 2nd of 2026. Arday's title changed from Professorial Fellow of Education to Fellow of Education. They got rid of the professorial. And an MA in Education Studies from Liverpool John Moores vanished from the list of his degrees. It was up there and now it's gone. And sorry, Matt, the final thing is we get word today that he was supposed to sit down with the New York Times. He canceled yesterday, decided he did not want to do that. I query why, but he did state that there is a well-documented playbook for discrediting Black academics in high-profile positions, and it's been used to devastating effect in the U.S., and now with me in the U.S. My greatest hope is that what is happening to me now will serve to further expose these actions and forces. Okay, so anyway, right now Cambridge is standing by him. Simon & Schuster is standing by him. There's an online petition by all these woke young white women to make sure we all stand by him. But the bloom is coming off this rose and fast.
This is an unbelievable story, Megyn. I mean, this is so devastating, not just to this one professor, but to the all of academia and frankly other industries as well. I mean, think about that Speakers Bureau. We all have public personas online now. In the internet age, everybody has to check what they say to make sure that it's true before you put it online. It's just a reflexive thing nowadays. You don't make a claim on social media or on Twitter without making sure that something's there. But you see all these institutions are willing to put their own names behind the claims of a professor like this without checking first. Clearly, someone didn't check with that charity. The Speakers Bureau didn't check with the charity before they put that up on their site. The university, Cambridge, has all kinds of things that they're now taking down, which means that they didn't check them in the first place, which is incredible, especially when you look at the writing of this person. When I first read about this plagiarism scandal, I always try to check it myself because you never know what people are calling plagiarism. Sometimes it's language that's close, and sometimes it's only a few instances, and sometimes it's a failure to cite or something like that. In this case, it's absolutely clear that there's no doubt whatsoever. His writing is filled with borrowed passages wholesale, so much that there's an error with a possessive apostrophe, like in the title of one of his papers, that he's,
many errors.
And by the way, that mistake by itself should be discrediting for a senior academic. I mean, if you put teachers with an apostrophe on it, and you, I guess, think that means that it's plural or something like that, you wouldn't get it past the high school.
Listen to this one, Matt. Chris Brunette, independent journalist who helped Chris Rufo expose Claudine Gay at Harvard. He says, okay, Jason Arday has published 34 academic publications. I'm too lazy to check them all, he writes. I picked 2 at random. Number 1, understanding race and educational leadership in higher education. Number 2, what are the issues for Black and ethnic minority students? I'm just starting to get a feeling for why they love them so much at places like Cambridge. Okay, Here are some funny mistakes I found. This is quoting our day. Increasing diagnoses of mental illness. He was attempting to write diagnoses. Will enviably impact attainment outcomes. Of course, he meant inevitably, not enviably. Mental illness supposedly destabilizes individuals, apostrophe, mental facilities. He meant faculties. Heightens feelings of sensibility and vulnerability. He meant sensitivity. And there are few opportunities available for them gain these types of opportunities. Them gain. Matt, it's that this guy just picked random two, and they want us to believe this guy's there. He's up there on his own merit. He deserves it. The claims of plagiarism are completely unfounded. This has been investigated. He was exonerated, which does not appear to be true that he was exonerated. It looks to me like he did commit plagiarism in multiple instances, and they're willing to overlook it.
Yeah, and this is the point that's really the central thing. I mean, think about what's happened in journalism in the last 15 to 20 years, really more the last 10. We've seen this phenomenon of really terrible, serious mistakes that are overlooked, and the newspapers don't go back and either admit it or change the mistakes because, as it turns out, once upon a time, that the most important thing was getting it right. Now, the most important thing is the content directionally, politically in the place that we want it to be? So all the wrong Russiagate stories, they're still out there because people want that to be true. Even the publications do. The same thing is happening in academia. As long as the person is preaching the right gospel, they're willing to overlook a complete lack of scholarship, a lack of literacy, an inability to communicate. This is a person who's supposed to be teaching other people how to write and think, and can't do it himself.
At Cambridge.
At Cambridge, at one of the great universities of the world. What message are you sending to people with this? You're telling them that it's okay to not be able to write, think, spell, use grammar. What's the point?
Yeah, soft bigotry of low expectations being applied in real time on this guy. Got a couple more for you here. So first of all, he claimed that he ran 600 miles in 6 days. And then he changed it to 12 days. Took him 12 days to do. Okay, like this would make him one of the great runners in the world, but no one knows his name. Okay, I mean, many people have questions. But then we hear him also talk about how when he got his PhD, he had to, have to defend it whenever you have to submit a dissertation and defend your PhD orally, verbally. And now he claims that he had to do that while battling a brain tumor and some sort of lung issue. It's in this soundbite. Take a listen to this. I'm sorry, but patently ridiculous claim he makes in a 2022 interview with Wellcome Sanger Institute. SOT 29.
I would say the most defining moment, or some of the real defining moments, when I got my PhD. So I completed my PhD in 2.5 years, working full time. So I killed myself to do it. But the reason why it was really significant, which I've said publicly now, so I might as well say it. But at the time I had a brain tumor, and I had my brain tumor removed 2 weeks before I had my viva. So I didn't remember anything. So I had a stroke straight after. So passing that was really, really significant.
Okay. So he had a brain tumor, and there was some other lung issue that he's claiming he had as well 2 weeks before he had to defend his dissertation. But it went swimmingly, Matt. I got like 600 miles and brain tumors and lung issues and defending your dissertation, which you completed your PhD in 2.5 years, which is extraordinary after being nonverbal for, until age 11. And you've also been doing this all alleged work overseas with this group, Water, whatever, which now maybe you did, maybe you didn't, unclear. And what we get instead of condemnation, let's get off of this lily pad. Okay. There's plenty of lily pads we can jump on where we support Black or in some way challenged individuals who had autism. But this is instead what we get from places like the Good Law Project, SOT 28.
You might have not heard who Jason O'Day is. Jason is the youngest black professor in Cambridge's history. And to the surprise of literally no one, from the start, newspapers like The Telegraph and The Times have been calling him a diversity poster boy and just overall annoying him. But now they're taking it a step further and they're trying to smear him with accusations of plagiarism. A baseless smear campaign against a distinguished black academic isn't just a personal attack. It's an attempt to shut down a black person who has a platform, and they keep doing this again and again. If you want to join us, comment Jason. We'll send you a link to add your name to our open letter to stand in solidarity with Jason and to help us tell right-wing newspapers that, again, they can't say and do whatever they want. Not on our watch.
So,
your thoughts on it, Matt?
So, look, if you want to be progressive, and I certainly think of myself as wanting to be racially progressive, you're hurting the cause by defending a person like this and standing on wrong facts and saying a person is not guilty of plagiarism when they are. Anybody is going to be able to go and check for themselves, and they're going to find it out, and they're going to conclude that you're lying, not just about this, but about everything. They're going to question every person that you support. So this does tremendous damage to their own movement. And that's why I don't understand it. I mean, for all these institutions to stand behind this person, I think about what I was taught. I was taught that if a source tells you a story and you find that they've lied about anything ever, never to use anything that source tells you, because that's the only way to protect yourself. Here they have a person who's lied about all sorts of things, and they're lifting him up to one of the most prestigious positions in academia.
Yes.
It's just not worth propping up the lie. I don't understand what they have to gain from it.
New lily pad. A couple more for you. The UK Times did an in-depth article, and one of the points that they raised I thought was interesting. They said he gave a webinar in July 2020 about an upcoming paper on mental health issues for Black and minority ethnic staff in higher education. In that webinar, he referred to a participant who took their own life and read out their quote, detailing the quote, violence of these racialized cultures in the academic world. Very powerful example. You would think that, he would stay on that. They write, although Arday's paper, accepted in September 2020, which is after July of 2020, and published in January 2021, used near identical quotes attributed to a male mixed heritage academic, there was no reference to this person taking their own life. Certainly seems like that would have been a relevant detail to include in your paper that was written about this. He later told the paper, I have no reason to fabricate or exaggerate Black people's suffering in academia. All research within reason tend to be selective. It's not possible to use every single bit of information. That's one thing. Okay, I want to keep going. Then there was the business of running all those miles, allegedly for charity. They point out he claimed that doing these runs raised £5 million for charity. When asked if that figure was accurate, Arday clarified to The Guardian that the money was raised, now it's with the help of many fundraising collectives over a 2-decade period. Oh, so now it's not the runs, it's 2 decades with a lot of people, not just him. When asked to identify other people who took part in these efforts, he said he had signed NDAs preventing him from disclosing that information. Because you know how they all want to keep quiet their charitable works. Right. The Guardian also asked Arday about his claim to have run 600 miles in 6 days as an achievement that would make him one of the world's most gifted endurance runners. He said that because of the cumulative wear and tear of training from his previous running challenges, he had to put rest days in between the running days just to finish the 600-mile challenge, which was actually completed over a 12-day period. Again, not 6. And then finally, Matt, this. Now he's claiming he's been the victim of all these alleged racist attacks because of mean people like The Telegraph and The Guardian. The Guardian, I'm pretty sure that's not a left-wing publication, saying he's been threatened with a knife, physically assaulted and spat on. He's had rape and death threats being made to him and his family, bananas and bullets being posted to him via the university campus, poison and mutilated animals sent to his family home. When asked what was the mutilated animal, he told The Guardian it was a severed pig's head delivered in a large cardboard box to his parents' home. They immediately threw it away. He couldn't produce it. He said he told the police several months later, and there was an investigation. Then The Guardian checked with all the butchers and the cops, none of whom knew anything about this and ardently denied having done an investigation into this. So you tell me, Matt Taibbi, where does this story go now?
Well, look, first of all, this is a pattern. If you've ever, done any kind of stories about people who are fabulous, once you find the first thing that they've lied about, you'll suddenly discover that there are all kinds of other stories out there, and this kind of person just can't help themselves. They seem to always, if they told the story one way the first time, they want to add something the next time. Oddly enough, Joe Biden is a little bit like this. If you go back and look at his speeches and his explanations about his speeches, he always seems to want to add something to it. He's not nearly this bad, but that's the pattern with this kind of person. But, all of these institutional defenders, it's a little bit like the Anthony Fauci story. You cannot penetrate a myth for people who are determined to believe. And no matter how much evidence you throw at them, they will still believe it. And that's amazing.
Yeah, that's the trap they're stuck in. Thank God we're free. Matt Taibbi, great to see you. Don't go away. We'll be right back. Hey, thanks for watching today's full episode. If you're new here, throw us a subscribe. See what you think. Stay in touch. There's plenty more goodness where this one came from. As always, we really do value your feedback. So email me too, Megyn, Megyn at megynkelly.com, or just leave a comment down below. I do read them. I meander over and I scroll through and I find them very entertaining and really appreciate the feedback. But in any event, join the community by becoming a subscriber so you miss nothing. We value your support. We may not always agree on positions, but as you know, I'm very open-minded to people who disagree with me. That's how I learn. So thanks. And thanks for trusting us to always talk about it openly, honestly, and with provocative conversations. Every season change seems to come with the same realization: a closet full of clothes and absolutely nothing to wear, right? Haven't you been there? Between work, travel, family commitments, and everything else, you might not have the time or frankly, the desire to spend hours and hours shopping. That is why I'm so excited to tell you about Daily Look. You've got to check these guys out. It is the #1 highest rated premium personal styling service for women. With Daily Look, you get your own dedicated personal stylist, a real person, not an algorithm, who curates a box based on your body shape, your preferences, and your lifestyle. And you get the same stylist every time, so she knows what you're building up in your closet. You can try up to 12 premium pieces at home, keep what you love, send back the rest, with free shipping both ways. It's time to get your own personal stylist with Daily Look. Head to dailylook.com to take your style quiz and use the code Megyn for 50% off your first order. Once again, that's dailylook.com for 50% off. And make sure you use our promo code Megyn so they know we sent you. A couple of things we have to get to. House cleaning after yesterday. We talked all about the trans issue yesterday on this show. As you know, that's going on in the WNBA and beyond. And the usual suspects ran to their corners and started calling the usual names. Whatever. I don't have time for it. But I did want to take this on. Okay. This is just one example. I mean, this woman's she's a nobody. I've never heard of her before. Neither have you. Her name is Stephanie Kaloi, Kaloi. And she writes for an industry publication called Mediaite, where they do little write-ups of what's in the news, whether it's a podcast or a TV show, what have you. And she did a write-up of my talking about how I wished Caitlin Clark had come out and said something in Sophie Cunningham's defense. As she twists in the wind, she's always got Caitlin's back, but Caitlin didn't have hers, and how she really whiffed on an opportunity to lead in her league. Not like Colin Kaepernick, who injected whether police are racists into NFL football games, but on an issue that directly affects little girls and younger women in her sport, of which she's the queen, right? Why wouldn't you? It's become an issue. It's not her fault it became an issue. It's not Sophie Cunningham's fault either. She was asked about the men and women sports thing in, if I'm not mistaken, an ESPN written article. She answered it honestly. And then it came up a week later in a podcast she was doing where they followed up on what she had said to ESPN, and she stuck by what she said. And then it burst out into all of the NBA or WNBA arenas where they're now having protests at all these games. The activists are outside protesting her. She's getting booed nonstop whenever she's on the court. So look, Megyn Kelly did not make this an issue in the WNBA. And frankly, Sophie Cunningham didn't either. ESPN did. So that's how we got here. Caitlin Clark may not like it, but it's there. And she punted on it. She chose not to comment, even though it's raining down all around her. And there are young girls in basketball at the high school level, ages 13 to 17, across this country who I'm sure would have loved to have seen her speak out on it, but she didn't have the guts. It's unfortunate. In any event, this nobody who I mentioned in this Mediaite publication, Stephanie, took issue with my commentary yesterday that there are, quote, little girls who are getting the shit kicked out of them in their sport, meaning basketball. She writes, there are none. There are none, not due to transgender women playing the same sport. In 2022, Leah Thomas became the first openly transgender female athlete to win a Division I title. Thomas was later stripped of her awards in 2025. I'm sure that was a big comfort to all the women whose medals she took and records she took. This person's just wiping it away. It got taken away because Trump won. Trump raised the issue. Trump crammed this down the throats of places like the University of Pennsylvania, threatening all of them. He lived up 100% to his campaign promise on this. And then they bent the knee because they were forced to. So let's not pretend, Stephanie, that somehow the University of Pennsylvania just did the right thing by Riley Gaines and the others who were devastated by Leah Thomas's participation in their sport, walking around with his penis out while they had to change completely nude in front of him, not to mention the taking of their medals and their places on the podium. So just stop, okay? Now, as for whether it is true that girls are getting the shit kicked out of them by trans athletes playing in their sports, I'm sorry to inform you, Stephanie, that's true too, okay? And you might want to do just a little bit of research before you mouth off on this subject rather than getting your talking points from John Oliver. That never steered anyone right. And we're going to go through a few of them since I get the feeling you're not big on research, sweetheart. I got you. I'm here for you. All right, let's go through a few of them. Massachusetts. We mentioned this yesterday because it's the case we were talking about when I talked about the young girls getting the shit kicked out of them. You didn't really have to look hard, Stephanie. You should have just watched the segment you were ripping on because we played this video yesterday. And here you see a high school player, someplace between the ages of 13 and 17, writhing in pain on the ground after the 6-foot-tall trans player yanks the ball away from her so hard that he caused, obviously, a back injury that kept her on the floor, unable to get up. This happened in 2024. It is the Collegiate Charter School of Lowell. It's the girls' basketball team. It happened in February of 2024, and the injuries were so severe and multiplied that the team decided to forfeit because the other players were terrified. Okay? It's not ancient history. 2024. So yeah, that's what I'm referring to, but that's not all. Of course, our audience is very familiar with Peyton McNabb, who was in a North Carolina volleyball match at which a male player spiked the ball so hard into her face that she suffered permanent damage. Her injuries included significant long-term physical and mental effects, impaired vision, partial paralysis on her right side, balance issues, anxiety, and depression. She was knocked unconscious by the ball because what happens in volleyball is the net is, I think, 7.5 inches shorter, lower in women's volleyball than it is in men's volleyball because men have a natural height advantage. I think the average height for an American male is like 5'9" or 5'8.5", believe it or not. And for women, it's 5'3". So that's accounted for. And obviously volleyball players in both sexes tend to be taller. It's one of the things that makes you great at volleyball, but they're both taller. So in any event, they lower the net for women's volleyball. And when you have a biological male there, you see, he has a natural inborn advantage, not to mention what the testosterone does to his muscles. And it endangers the girls. And it endangered Peyton McNabb. And for what it's worth, this guy had zero regrets or apologies to her for hurting her. Peyton's been on our show a few times. Here she is describing the impact of her injury to Alliance Defending Freedom, which represented her and so many others who have been hurt by these players in SOT 24.
I had to wear sunglasses everywhere I went. The lights were all really harsh, and I couldn't really understand or comprehend my work as well at school, so I had to get extra help and accommodations to help with testing and tutoring and stuff, and that's never been the case for me. And of course the headaches, and I was having to have someone with me at all times. I couldn't drive for a few months. It was really bad at first, but thankfully I've grown a lot since then. I still have to get help now that I'm in college. My body is just in shock, and it's still trying to recover. There's still things that I'm having to deal with today, and it's just completely aggravating because it was 100% avoidable if only my rights as a female athlete had been more important than a man's feelings.
Honestly, where's her story? All these activists out there saying, how big of an issue is this? This doesn't even matter. It was only Leah Thomas. Do your homework. Do your homework. I'm not here to teach remedial reporting to you. When you're going to make a sweeping comment like that without doing a modicum of research to find out whether there are any claims, shame on you. Let's keep going. Callie Keeler. She was a sophomore at Rogers High School in Puyallup, Washington. Forgive me on the pronunciation. Not sure how you say that. She alleges that her transgender opponent jammed his fingers through her spandex and penetrated her. According to the 74-page lawsuit filed this week, this happened like a month ago, by her and her mother, who filmed the December bout. This is a boy pretending to be a girl. She did not realize she was wrestling against a biological boy. Keeler was only 15. Is that young enough? Sorry, Stephanie, is that young enough for you? Not sure if, does that qualify to get back to me. She shouted to her mother on the sideline that her opponent's fingers were in my coochie, she yelled. She let herself be pinned just so that it would stop. It was only later she learned she had been assaulted by a biological male. Her complaints were ignored by the school, and that lawsuit is ongoing. Let's go to field hockey. I mentioned this yesterday too. Do your homework. Mentioned it yesterday. Back to Massachusetts, where a high school student athlete had her teeth knocked out and suffered, this is November 2023, significant facial injuries when an opposing male player shot a field hockey ball at her face during a playoff game. Watch the soundbite. You hear the screaming? Do you hear the screaming? Go F yourselves, people who are denying this girl's existence and this problem's existence and asking questions about, how many are there? Fuck off. Enough. There's this girl screaming after all her teeth were knocked out by a male player posing as female in Massachusetts in 2023. Watch it again. It's infuriating. It's infuriating to see this denialism by these absolute know-nothings. If you know nothing, then you should at least look into these sweeping claims of non-existence of any of these players, okay? You disrespect every young woman and girl who has been hurt and endangered by doing that. Shame on you. Shame on you. You call yourself a journalist. The players on the field were visibly distraught over the injury. It happened during a playoff match. The male player was seen winding back his stick to take the shot, but instead he drills the opposing female defender directly in the face. Swampscott Public Schools athletic director Kelly Wolf confirmed the player who took the shot was a male 4-year varsity student and co-captain. Imagine. Let's keep going. This is a Dutch story, happened in 2025. Elena King's knee. She was 20, not a young girl, but a young woman. Her knee was torn from its socket when she was tackled by a male player identifying as a woman in a Dutch Premiership rugby match. She was told that she will have lifelong knee pain and needs to endure months of physiotherapy before she can run again. She told the Sunday Times that a woman, quote, could not have pulled my leg out of its socket, adding, this could have been prevented. Last year, the year prior, the same man who hurt her knocked unconscious another female rugby player in a match. That person was still undergoing tests for suspected brain injury and could no longer use a helmet due to migraines. So now we have 2 with brain damage. And these are rugby players. Last I checked, that's a very tough sport. Those women are not easy to hurt. They are not pushovers. They do not complain a lot. Okay? But brain damage is kind of a bridge too far. Your leg being ripped out of its socket, that can upset a woman. That can radicalize other women who actually do pay attention to these issues, unlike some of the know-nothings out there, into speaking out against this issue. Okay? So that's just a few. I want to keep going. This isn't all. This is just stuff I pulled together this morning. Let's go to Canada. This is via Rebel News. One of 3 women injured by Ash Davis last month has said, I've never been hit like that before. This is rugby. Again, look, here we have video. You don't have to imagine it. You're going to get to see Ash Davis, who is not trying to look like a woman. He has male pattern baldness setting in. He has an Adam's apple, and look at his legs. This is a man, not even posing as a woman, just participating on the women's team, and they allow it. Rebel News reporting he tackles hard. Just asked the 3 women players who suited up for the Stony Creek Camels last month, who had to be removed from the game thanks to Ash's debilitating tackles. Again, one of the women said, I'd never been hit like that before, even at the competitive women's level. There was so much more brute force. There are women who are bigger than him, but no girl hits like that. This is a strong human. That is almost verbatim what the women who were forced to box against Imane Khalif said in the Olympics, when they allowed that biologically male boxer to participate in the women's competition, and he walked away with the gold. That's almost verbatim what they said, that no woman could hit like that, that these women can take a punch. They are Olympic level boxers. There is a difference when you get punched by a woman versus a man. Let's keep going. While we're up in Canada, mentioned Melody Weishart yesterday. Now, I wonder whether this would count. Does this count for the naysayers? Because the 12-year-olds in the swim league up there, they weren't physically, they didn't have their legs ripped out of the socket, so that maybe it doesn't rise to your level. I mean, you'll have to get back to me on whether you consider this injury, but they were, quote, terrified, according to one of the parents of the teenagers, 12 and 13-year-olds. But girls as young as 8 were forced to be in a locker room with Melody Weishart, who once competed under the name Nicholas Cepeda, and decided to compete as a girl in Ontario, Canada, and in particular, a league with these very young girls. At one point, as I said, he was in the locker room with girls as young as 8. Weishart, who is a professor, I believe, up there at York University, participated in several events over the first 3 days of December in 2023, including the women's 1,500 meter freestyle for athletes 16 and older. Melody placed second, Melody has reportedly been competing against girls since 2019. Rebel News caught up with Melody after one of Melody's big accomplishments, beating the young 12 and 13-year-olds. And here's how that went.
In the meantime, we're going to watch them swim. Just will you see the perverse visuals of a 50-year-old man lining up against 13 and 17-year-old girls.
Oh, I've seen other people. Where are you?
We finally have a definitive answer to where Nicholas Cepeda changes and showers. It is in the girls' dressing room. I saw it myself with my own eyes. He didn't go into the male dressing room. He didn't go into the family dressing room. Mr. Cepeda, what is your deal? Why are you swimming with 13-year-olds? Why are you breaking World Aquatic rules? Why are you a coward? Do you have a record of sexual perversion?
Protect me from these people.
Protect us from what? Where are you going?
Protect me from these people. The nerve. Protect me. By the way, Melody, if you identify as a 13-year-old girl, why are you driving a car? Truly. You should be asking the alleged furries in your school communities the same question, by the way, people. If they identify as a cat or some animal, why are they sitting in the cafeteria eating a peanut butter and jelly, sipping out of a juice box? Why aren't they licking milk out of a saucer? Truly, if you actually identify as this thing, why aren't you behaving like this thing? 12-year-old, 13-year-old girls cannot drive, Melody. Sorry. So I don't know. Does psychological injury of terror qualify as injury to you naysayers about where's the injury? How many people are doing this? This is not a thing. Okay. For me, it qualifies. Maybe I'm an outlier. I don't know. My audience will let me know. Here's another one. This one actually happened out of, stand by. This is out of Australia. 2023, a male soccer player who identifies as transgendered injured a female player during a semi-professional women's league. Look, we have video. The transgender player's aggressive shoulder check sent the female player to the ground where she lay unmoving. She was unable to train until later in the week. When she did, it was only very lightly. Maybe that doesn't count, right? Because it's a semi-professional. Well, she must have been about like 20. I guess, do we count them? Do the 20-year-olds get to complain, or they just have to fucking take it? You take it. Too bad. If your career is on the line, just shut up in the name of tolerance. God, you whining ladies, sick and tired of your bitching. That's really what these people are saying. STFU, because we need to be inclusive. No, we don't. You want your daughter's leg ripped out of the socket? You want your daughter getting fingers up her vagina while she's doing a wrestling match? What in the actual? Speak up. Don't let these know-nothings silent you, male or female, trying to jump into this debate because they want to defend Caitlin Clark or they want to rip on Sophie Cunningham. Shame on all of you. Shame on you. Do your damn homework. There have been countless males participating against females, stealing medals and scholarships and joy and a feeling of safety and security for years now, for years. This is just a few, okay? Just a few. Literally, we could be here all day. There's Leah Thomas. There's Terry Miller and Andrea Yearwood. Those are the ones who ran in the Connecticut track meets without doing anything to lower their testosterone. At the state level, Terry Miller was the high school state title winner in Connecticut, with fellow trans girl Andrea Yearwood finishing second, and also were the regional New York champions. There was the player against Peyton McNabb, as I mentioned, who wasn't sorry at all. There was Veronica Garcia, who won back-to-back state high school championships in Washington in the 400-meter run. She told the anti-trans detractors after the state meet, Get a Life. There's A.B. Hernandez, who's still competing in girls track and field in California, blew away the competition at the Ontario Relays and Invitational, beating the second place finisher by 8 feet, a shocking margin, just this past May. The long jump result, Hernandez posted 20 feet, 4.5 inches. The next closest finishers reached 19 feet, 1.5 inch. More than a foot separated first from second. Aiden Gallagher, May of 2024, won a high school girls track and field state championship in Oregon in the 200 meter. J.C. Cooper won the women's 2019 national championship for bench press in the super heavyweight division. Laurel Hubbard, the Olympic weightlifter, won 2 Oceania championships and 2 Commonwealth championships amongst many gold medals that she won during her competition years. I mean, it goes on for pages and pages and pages. All right. I can't help Caitlin Clark if she can't find the courage to speak out against this. Maybe she wants another girl to get injured in high school basketball, just like those 3 girls in Lowell, Massachusetts. Okay, I guess she doesn't care. Sophie Cunningham does. Good for her. You know who else cares? Sabalenka, who's number 1. She's the number 1 women's player in women's tennis, where thanks to Martina Navratilova and some other outspoken advocates, they have now passed a rule for U.S. women's tennis that they will only accept biological females. God bless you. God bless you for doing that. And Sabalenka, who is a current player with a lot to lose, which is what we've been waiting for. Sophie Cunningham, yes, but again, with respect, she's not a household name like Caitlin, but Sabalenka is, if you know anything about tennis. And she did it. God bless her. And I applaud her. Here it is.
Hi. The WTA recently announced that, the players will take a one-time gender test. How do you feel about that? The first pro league to go in that direction?
I think it's really important to keep the fairness in our tour, and it's obvious that biologically, right, the men are way stronger than women, so I feel like it would be not really fair for the women to compete against biological men. So I believe it took them a little while to make this decision, and I support it. But for me, I'm focusing on myself, on my goals, whatever it takes. If they want to test us all, I'm happy to do that. It's pretty fair, and let's keep it that way.
Look how simple that is. She's just saying what we all know is true. It's not that hard. It's honestly, it's not even political. It's just acknowledging biological reality and the reality of sport. It is not fair. I mean, truly, will Caitlin Clark say something if LeBron James or somebody like him joins the WNBA? I wonder, would she be okay competing against such a person? What if somebody that size joins high school basketball with the up-and-comers into college athletics, or college basketball, the up-and-comers into the WNBA? Will she speak out then? What will it take? Does somebody need to have permanent brain damage? Will that do it? No, I guess not, because that's already happened. And she doesn't want to talk about it. She said the league should work it out with their players. So you're one. But it's not even about Caitlin Clark. It's about everyone who is shitting on the notion that this is a danger. Okay, that there's something wrong with you people. You have ideological blinders on. Girls are being hurt in multiple ways. That's beyond dispute at this point. And last but not least, I've got to get to Seth Moulton. Seth Moulton, remember this guy? Democrat out of Massachusetts, congressman. After the last election, 2024, he decided, since the Democrats got their asses handed to them on this issue, it was the number 1 issue in the swing states, according to a large survey done by a Democrat firm trying to figure out what the hell happened, why they lost so badly. And he decided in the wake of that to come out and try to speak sense. And he said, you know what? I have 2 daughters. I wouldn't want them competing against males on the soccer field. It's not fair. It's a question of fairness, I think he said, and maybe he mentioned safety. And we said, oh my gosh, that's wonderful. That's great. Okay, first you think, good for him. And then shortly thereafter, we had a vote on the Save Girls Sports Act, and he voted against it. And he was called out here, among other places. And now he is in a political debate for his political future in Massachusetts, and was asked about those comments in the debate, and this is how he answered it here in SOT 22.
Congressman Moulton, in your last debate, you said when you were asked about student athletes who are transgender, to anyone out there listening tonight, anyone in the LGBTQ community or anyone else, I stand with you because I've always stood with you. But after the last presidential election, you said, I have 2 little girls. I don't want them getting run over on a playing field by a male or formerly male athlete. Congressman Moulton, which is it?
To the trans community, feeling the weight and the pain of the Trump administration policies, I deeply recognize your trauma. And I'm sorry if my comments hurt you.
Do you still have a fear that your daughters could be run over on a playing field by a biological male or formerly male athlete?
My kids are young, they play co-ed sports, but the point I made is that as Democrats, we can't have that debate. Coward. That was my full quote. Okay. And I think we should and I think we should be willing to talk about these issues, but I stand 100% with the trans community.
Coward. Utter coward. Dishonest, feckless, dickless coward. That's, I mean, forget it, right? He's running, he wants a promotion. He's running to get the Democratic nomination for Senate. He wants his opponent's seat. Ed Markey, who's no better. I mean, he was out there openly saying, oh no, we got to trans the kids. Not exactly, but he's in favor of trans athletes in girls sports. So those are your choices. And it's not lost on me that both these guys are running for the U.S. Senate seat in Massachusetts. That's where those girls got hurt. Playing basketball, writhing in pain. That's where we heard this from the field hockey player who got smashed in the face by a trans athlete. Tell it to her. We'll be right back. Feeling sluggish, bloated, not quite like yourself? Life constantly bombards us with silent threats. Processed foods, they're the worst. Artificial light, nonstop stress, all of which can disrupt gut health, drain energy, and weaken immune health. When that happens, it's not that your body is broken, it's that it might be missing the right inputs. This is why I want to tell you about Armra Colostrum. It's packed with more than 400 bioactive nutrients that they say can work at a foundational level to fortify gut health, support immune health, fuel recovery, and promote whole body vitality. Strong gut integrity can support metabolism, skin, and hair health, and even performance and recovery, which is why colostrum has long been valued by some elite athletes as well. If you are looking to take back control of your health from the inside out, consider Armra. And they have a special deal right now for you. Go to armra.com/Megyn or enter Megyn to get 30% off when you check out of your first subscription order. That's armra.com/MEGYN. In the US, a break-in happens every 26 seconds. Most systems only alert you after an intruder is inside your home, but by then the damage is done. However, they're Simply Safe. With their new Outdoor Camera Series 2 and advanced AI, Simply Safe does not just watch as somebody breaks into your house, it acts. If a threat is detected, US-based live agents can intervene to deter intruders before they cross the threshold. This is such a great idea. Why doesn't every security system do this? Going on vacation? You can check your feed and know that professionals are monitoring your home. Plus, the setup is a breeze. Get your system running in under 30 minutes. No long-term contracts. Simply Safe earns your business every day rather than locking you into a trap. It's elite protection that fits your life, not the other way around. Simply Safe has an exclusive discount just for you. Right now, get 50% off your new system by visiting simplysafe.com/Megyn. That's half off at Simply, spelled SIMPLI, safe.com/Megyn. Because there's no safe like Simply Safe. Joining me now is one half of one of the biggest bands of the 1980s and beyond. Here's a hint. one of the greatest ever. Yes, Tears for Fears gave us Mad World, Shout, Head Over Heels, and the iconic, everlasting Everybody Wants to Rule the World. Now, Roland Orzabal is telling the story behind the music, and he does not hold back. He writes about the band's extraordinary rise, his painful split, and eventual reunion with his partner, Kurt Smith, surviving an addiction that nearly killed him, and much, much more. His new memoir is called Welcome to Your Life, Love, Death, and Tears for Fears. Roland, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's an honor to meet you. I'm a huge fan. As a child of the 80s, of course, I know all the music
You're very
and
kind.
have admired
Very
you
kind. Yeah.
for many, many years. So why now? Why you're still a relatively young man. Why the memoir at this point?
Well, I have a literary agent in New York called Mark Gottlieb, and he was taking a book of fiction I'd written called Truthful around to various publishers. And every one of them was saying, what about a memoir? What about a memoir? And Mark said to me, how do you feel about it? I wasn't particularly interested at all because I didn't think that the story was finished. But I'd had a hankering of writing a book on astrology, which might sound a bit strange to people. So I wondered if I could combine the two, so I could write about my life, and Tears for Fears, which are intimately connected, and that might have been enough. But I wanted to sew in an extra thread of understanding, which I think I've done. So hopefully, it's an interesting story, but you might learn something about this subject, which a lot of people do not understand.
A lot about this subject, actually, about multiple subjects. I mean, astrology, I admit I'm into it. I don't know that much about it, but whenever I talk to somebody who knows what they're talking about, I'm completely gripped. By the way, you're 64. So as I said, you're really not that old. But it's fine. I wrote a memoir at age, I think, 46. So it can happen if you've had an interesting life, and you certainly have. So I want to talk a little bit about the band, and I want to get to your personal story as well. But let's just start with you and your partnership with Kurt Smith, your partner in crime in Tears for Fears. How did you two find each other, and what was your background in music that made you consider, being in a band professionally?
We had a mutual friend, and I was staying with this guy. His name was Paul Noble in Bath. I was living in Keynsham, just outside. And he said to me one morning, let's go and meet my friend Kurt. And so we went across to what are called the Snow Hill Flats in Bath. It's this big Bath stone tower of council flats, state housing, or like the projects you would have here. And we knocked on Kurt's door. His mother answered and said, shouted for Kurt. He came to the door, but he wasn't allowed out because he'd thrown someone down the stairs. Now I was a relatively conservative kid doing all the schoolwork, trying to be a good boy and get on at school. And here was what I considered to be a ruffian. And but what eventually happened was I was in a band with Paul. It was only guitar, bass, and drums. And we heard Kurt singing along to a Blue Oyster Cult song in his bedroom. And I thought, wow, this guy can sing. He was certainly conveyed all the emotions that the song had. And so we asked Kurt to be our lead singer. Then we were a four-piece all of a sudden. So that's how we started. But then it didn't last very long. Then we were in another band when we were 18. And that was when we formed Tears for Fears out of the skeleton of that band.
I am happy to call Richie Sambora of Bon Jovi a friend. And he was their, of course, lead guitarist.
Yeah.
And he wrote most of their songs.
Mm-hmm.
Not all, but a lot of them. How did it work in Tears for Fears? Was one of you the main songwriter? Was it a collaborative effort?
No, I wrote all the first album on my own. and they're hurting. And Songs of the Big Chair I wrote with our producer and keyboard player, Chris Hughes, and Ian Stanley, but I still wrote most of the songs. All the lyrics and melodies have been mine, yeah.
Are you one of those guys who now cannot stand to hear songs like Everybody Wants to Rule the World because you've played it so many times?
I don't mind that song at all. I mean, there are other songs I can't listen to,
like which one? Like Shout? I love Shout too.
Yeah, I'm tired of playing that song because it's so repetitive. It's so loud. At the end of the show, we have never managed to fit it in at the beginning or middle.
What on the subject of Everybody Wants to Rule the World? I know that it had a different name when it first started.
Yep.
But I have to say the lyrics, they're so beautiful. They really are beautiful. It's kind of a haunting song, and you knew that when you were writing it. Can you tell us what the original title was and what you were trying to say with it?
Well, there was a lot of war talk at that time. Russia and America and all nuclear weapons, the proliferation, mutually assured destruction. And the original title was Everybody Wants to Go to War, which I struggled with very much. And that was one of the reasons why I didn't like the song. But our producer, Chris Hughes, had us play it every day. And it came together very naturally. And it was a eureka moment for me where I changed the title to Everybody Wants to Rule the World. Then all of a sudden, we were off.
We're looking at video of you and Kurt playing and singing and rocking out. And I wonder if you look back at that period when you were touring and in huge demand with all the screaming girls and miss it, or are glad you survived it, or both?
I didn't really notice, to be honest with you. I mean, hysteria is something that you can manufacture by the way you behave to an audience. So I'll give an example. In 1985, we were doing a TV program and there were a lot of screaming girls outside. And I've frozen. There were a lot of screaming girls outside, and I thought it was a bit strange, and so I went out the door and spoke to them all, and then the hysteria died. That's
just by showing them that you're a normal person.
Just by showing them
making yourself more accessible.
Person, exactly. Yeah.
Does that get extremely heady? You hear a lot of stories from bands who make it big about how they lost their connection with reality and they got drunk on their own wine, started to think that they were godlike figures. What happened to you?
Well, as you'll read in the book, we started Tears for Fears to get rich, get famous, and get therapy. We were inspired by the writings of Arthur Yanov, and all I cared about was doing this thing called primal therapy to go into myself, understand myself, and try and exercise some of the demons from my childhood. So when we made it really big, that's all I had in the back of my mind. I knew that what was going on with all the success was lovely. It was beautiful, but that wasn't exactly what I had intended. So after all that, the incredible period of Big Chair and the success, I then started primal therapy on my own in London. Yeah.
Eventually, as happens with so many great bands, you and Kurt broke up. And this is, every fan's nightmare that one of their favorite bands is going to break up. And we saw it happen, with another great duo. I realized that it wasn't just the two of you, but Hall & Oates at each other's throats.
Yeah.
What happened between you and Kurt?
Well, it was quite simple. I mean, I think Caesar Love maybe was sort of my child, maybe a bit more than it was the pair of us. And I got Elisa Adams involved. Suddenly there were 3 singers. The stage show completely changed from what it was when we were at our commercial peak. And our manager at the time, Paul King, I didn't realize, but he was also a promoter, and he made a huge punt on a Genesis show, which lost money. So he was financially in peril. We also took 4 years to make Seeds of Love, which made him even more in peril. And then when we were touring, I found out by the swimming pool via our lawyer that Paul King had taken all the profits from the tour and put them into his own bank account, so he wouldn't go bankrupt more than £1 million. If he had, he would have not been able to do business ever again. So that for me was more than a red flag. I never liked the guy, and I thought, I don't want him to be our manager. And the problem was Kurt was his friend. So we really split up because of our manager.
It's a tale as old as time.
Oh, yeah.
But you did find your way back to one another.
Oh, yeah.
And released another album. And now you guys are you're on good terms, which we're happy to hear.
Very
Because,
much.
you know, from afar, you always want to see that, especially given everything that you've been through together.
Yep.
But all of that drama would pale in comparison to what was happening in your personal life. You were married to a woman named Caroline.
Yep.
And while you were touring and a big success, she was struggling mightily. And she met with an early death. So explain the effect that ARC had on you, because watching a loved one suffer is not easy. And then there was a level of guilt because you would meet your next wife while Caroline was still alive.
Yeah. Well, yeah, she had alcoholism and stage 4 cirrhosis of the liver. So whatever happened, that was going to be the cause of her death. And for the last 6-7 years of her life, I became her carer, and which wasn't easy because she was very good at using the menopause as a smokescreen for her alcoholism. And we saw a lot of doctors, neurologists, hepatologists, psychiatrists, that kind of stuff. But it got really bad, and to the point where it was a form of dementia, a form of alcohol-induced dementia. And you know, our whole circle of friends was shrinking rapidly, incredible. And she was antagonistic to them. She was at one point sectioned. She went into a psych ward for the elderly. Not that she was elderly, it's just that she was so fragile.
Young 50s.
Yeah. And I spent almost every day visiting her in the psych ward, which was 3 months. And once we had to postpone the tour because we almost lost Caroline. I was told she might die that very weekend because she wasn't eating. She was very, very light, and she didn't know what was going on. And it was when the tour began again in October of that year. Caroline was out of the psych ward, and for a little while was recovering. And I was in Denver, leaving a restaurant with Tears for Fears and the whole crew. And I looked behind me and I saw a young woman. And I've seen a lot of beautiful women on tour, but this coincided with a voice in my head saying, "That's my wife." And
wow.
Yeah, and I didn't understand it because I'm not a very psychic person. But there was just something about her and the chemistry. And yeah, there's no doubt about it that, well, it was right, actually. That voice in my head was right, because, when Caroline died many years later, Emily became my wife.
Emily became your wife.
Yeah.
It's actually, you write about it very honestly in the book, about had the choice I'd made in order to be with Emily, to not go, to be with Caroline, determined the outcome of Caroline's life.
That's right.
Or was it just a coincidence or synchronicity? Perhaps I had simply let her go so she could leave this earthly plane of loneliness, addiction, and degradation.
Yep.
Very honest. I know you struggled yourself. You eventually went into a rehab program on your own.
Yep.
And the astrological journey piece of it has also been big for you. And people can hear all about it, read all about it by buying the book. It's called Welcome to Your Life, Love, Death, and Tears for Fears. Roland, that's his astrological memoir. And honestly, if you have any affinity for Roland's music, you will enjoy this. I thought you were extremely raw in it, Roland, and I
Thank you.
am happy to hear that you're happily married now. You have a little girl and still making music. And I'll be there at the next concert.
Great.
Hopefully Kurt will be there too.
I'm sure he will.
Good luck with it all.
You take care.
You as well. Again, Welcome to Your Life, Love, Death, and Tears for Fears. Check it out. And before we go, want to make a programming note. You can go to youtube.com/Megyn Kelly and you can hit join. Okay. There's a little button there that says join, and that's our members only club group. I don't know what we're calling it, but you will see some content that nobody else will get to see. And we are beginning with a documentary behind the scenes of our show, our staff, our tour, our guests, which I think you will enjoy very much. So check it out, and we will see you all tomorrow. Thanks for watching and for listening.